Welcome back to season 4 of Connecting with Purpose for this solo episode around the ultimate performance approach. This is how can we use pressure to our advantage, converting pressure into performance and performance into the results that we need for the business. And when I think about ultimate performance, I'm thinking about the things below the things we observe, deep in the sort of tactical stuff, thinking about the bigger picture system, if you like, taking that broader perspective. And what frameworks and processes do we need to get the flywheel of performance working between people, purpose, and process? And every leader, every team gets to a point where the effort and the passion are no longer enough solely to sustain our success. Often this is where we hit this kind of performance precipice moment that I hit about 10 years ago, where on the outside everything looks great, the company's thriving, the team's expanding, the numbers are good, but on the inside, the founder is just starting to feel a bit empty. Maybe carrying too much, energy's fragmented, maybe the meaning's getting a bit diluted. For me, I was playing out a position. I wasn't living my own purpose on the business. The business was my purpose, but I wasn't playing the right position to have the impact on the business that I wanted to have. So this empty achiever thing is brutal, because you're hitting the goals and the company's doing well, but your fulfillment is sort of burning out. You're executing stuff, but you're not energized, you're not elevated, you're not focused. And so if you've ever been there, sort of feeling a bit like this empty achiever, a bit like we're at the performance precipice, this approach is going to help. And it helps for leadership teams as well, to keep all of those contributions aligned to where each person feels the most energized, the most focused, the most productive, if you like, kind of in flow, where productivity really increases both individually and collectively, so that overall we can have a much better opportunity to move the needle forward, build some momentum, and achieve our results. So when we think about ultimate performance, we're thinking about sustaining our highest possible performance. There's 3 kind of moments where this is probably most relevant. The first one is when performance is rising, but pressure's rising probably even more than that. So the growth's there, but it maybe doesn't feel sustainable. Maybe it feels like it's plateauing. And so you're starting to react to things versus to create your own path ahead. The second is the results might be good, but the energy's starting to fade. So again, maybe that empty achiever thing, you're starting to feel it, are other people starting to feel it, working really hard, but probably de-energized, and therefore that performance is not sustainable. And the third is when the leader themselves, the founder, if you like, of the business becomes the bottleneck. Oh my goodness, this was me. Too many decisions, taking on too many things. You become a bottleneck and the business starts to depend on you, and therefore it can't scale. And I really realized this. I realized I was the problem, but I wasn't sure what I needed to do about it. And so stepping back and thinking, well, what's the intersection between people, purpose, and performance? That's where we can find the magic through this ultimate performance system that starts to get that flywheel turning again with leverage. So the effort that we put in is levered up to build accelerating momentum. So ultimate performance is a system. It's repeatable, it's practical, it's measurable, depending on what it is you want to measure. That can help you as the leader and your leadership team, and ultimately your organization, firstly clarify the direction with both purpose and precision. So the direction's got meaning and it's got real focus, so that we can go from being scattered and juggling all the amazing plates that we can juggle into really, really focused execution. Secondly, it helps increase capacity while reducing exhaustion. So we are aligning energy and roles and creating rhythms that enable people to perform at their best. And the third is strengthening team alignment and accountability. This is by taking out some of the frictions and turning the tensions into momentum, so we can bring more flow and productivity to the team. Fourth thing is it helps build cultures that can sustain performance over the time. And this is where, when people are operating from a place of strength, their energy becomes more renewable, right? And that can play off each other because energy is contagious. And the fifth thing would be driving really meaningful and measurable business outcomes. So fueling the business outcomes with meaning. So we get high performance, ultimately lower turnover, a stronger culture, and ongoing kind of clarity in that direction. So this is the hard work. This is the human operating system that can really power elite levels of performance. So if we're looking at the ultimate performance framework, we've got it kind of split out over 7 Ps. I'm just going to give the headlines on each of the Ps, and then I'm going to give you some questions to consider, just to think about where your leadership team, where your business might be at. So the first of the Ps is purpose. This is kind of the anchor. This is the foundation to your game plan. So if you had a 1-page strategy, the purpose would be at the bottom, the foundation. Ultimately, like, why do we exist as a business? Why do we exist as a team? Why do I exist as a human? Like, what impact am I uniquely here to deliver? What brings me meaning? How do I bring that to life? And when we can articulate that, we can start to be intentional at looking at the intersections between the me, we world, if you like, the individual purpose, the team purpose, and the organizational purpose and impact that ultimately we can have together as a business. So there's a lot of power in articulating that purpose and looking for those intersections. The second thing is the possibilities. The possibilities aligns to the vision, right? So in corporate terms, we're talking about the vision as far out as you want to go. This sets your direction. This is your North Star. If you achieve your purpose, this is what the world would look like. Who can the organization become? Who are we capable of serving and delivering impact towards? So this is the stretch to the ambitions, and the third piece that comes next. Because the third piece that comes next is our priorities. So when we're thinking about our priorities, we want to have very clear goals, 12 months for sure, 90 days, stretch goals maybe out to 3 years, but really focused on aligned goals to the purpose. What matters most? What do we need to protect while we're growing? What do we need to eliminate? So much of the magic is in the elimination, both at an individual, team and organizational level. So really focusing the priorities on the things that move the needle the most and achieve the results, and really being disciplined on that. It's not all about doing more. It's about doing the priorities well. Fourth area is positions. This is about how people contribute. So who owns what, who decides what. Think about responsibility frameworks. Who approves, who contributes, who owns, who's maybe informed in the process. And then what type of contributions, what type of energy do each person in the team bring? What types of contributions do they deliver the most impact for the team? Once we got through that individual piece of the positions, getting the right positions playing in the right place, we want some principles, operating principles for the team. These are the human operating standards, if you like. How do we operate together? What do we support each other with? What do we hold each other accountable to? Having clarity and commitment to those principles is absolutely key. And it relates nicely to the last 2 points, which is about systemizing this stuff. The sixth P is process. These are the systems that make that performance repeatable, right? We want to look at processes and say, well, what processes are in place that are inhibiting our performance? What processes are in place that are enabling our performance? And let's do more of the enabling performance and create processes like that. And if we have control over ones that are inhibiting us, let's change them. And if we don't, let's acknowledge that fact and work out the workarounds. And the last piece, obviously, is practices. Practices is the daily kind of focus, consistency and rhythm that enables us to put these things into place. If you like, the rituals and routines. And these can be looked at on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, ultimately annual basis, where we're looking at how is our behavior and how our contributions align to the results and the milestones we're looking to achieve that ultimately build towards that vision. So this is it's a framework, but it's very flexible. It flows. It really helps leaders gain clarity, teams gain alignment, and build this kind of culture of performance and accountability where everybody is supporting each other and elevating each other to get better. So that's an overview of the system, and what it leads to is intentional, impactful growth versus growth just being the default. Well, let's just grow. Why are we growing? What does that look like? What do we want to hold on to? And how are we performing to the things that actually matter? So here's just to end out a few questions that you can consider to think about where your team, where your business might be at. in this sort of overall matrix of ultimate performance. So let's take the leadership level first. A couple of questions here. As the leader of the organization, can you clearly articulate the purpose? And then what does that next phase of growth look like? Like what's the objective of the next phase of growth? And are you super clear about where you want to take things, or are you feeling like you're reacting to some of the pressure in front of you? From a team perspective, have you got shared priorities or competing priorities? Are roles and decisions clear, or are they just kind of assumed? And do we have clear principles that we're all committed to and holding each other accountable to? And then more broadly, when you're thinking more people and culture, around this sort of rhythm, processes, systems, etc., what would break first, right? If we just grew and we doubled the business, what would break first? What can we do to preempt that? What weekly, monthly, quarterly reviews, systems can we put in place to try and sort of smooth out that flywheel? And to what extent are we operating from a place of strength versus just cranking, draining our energy and just sort of ultimately draining our performance? So think through some of those things and see where you're at, because this, importantly, and anyone knows me, ultimate performance is certainly not about perfection. It's about ongoing, focused, intentional effort, intentional growth that enables us to take pressure and convert it to our advantage so that we can really use this to build momentum and achieve those results that we want to achieve. So we go from kind of being reactive to intentional. We go from our own individual efforts to sort of having aligned contributions. And because of the energy aspect of this, our well-being, performance and impact are aligned. So we reduce burnout and we renew our energy. It's a generative performance system. And this is the bridge at what takes you from high performance to ultimate performance, which is sustainable, generative and anti-fragile performance. So that's an overview of the ultimate performance system. This is where I'm living from a professional perspective right now with the leaders and teams, and absolutely loving this work. And if you've got any questions on this, please reach out and let me know at mark@purposefuse.com. Obviously, please feel free to share this with anyone that you think this could be useful for. And other than that, we'll look forward to seeing you next week on Connecting with Purpose. Cheers.